Hi, boys and girls. Before we get started on the project, I just wanted to share with you a few collage examples created by Henri Matisse because he will be our inspiration for our project this week. This first example shows a combination of geometric and organic shapes, and he also focused on different colors. Okay, so we see the shapes overlapping, we see bright colors being used on a neutral black background to really make those colors pop. We see a variety of sizes with the shapes. Okay, these are some things I want you to think about as you begin to create your collage this week. Here's another example that's more detailed. Again, we see a combination of geometric and organic shapes. We see geometric shapes in the black squares and in that large green rectangle in the background. We see organic shapes in the yellow, blue, and shades of red color that are more free form. And finally, this example, which is even more detailed, again shows a combination of geometric and organic shapes, as well as bright colors and different sizes of those shapes. We can see symmetry in this example as well, because if I were to draw a line down the middle of it, it's the same on both sides. So maybe you want to create some sort of symmetry in your design too. You don't have to, but these are things I want you to think about as you're creating your collage this week. Okay, boys and girls, so the first thing we're going to do to get started on our Matisse-inspired collage is we're actually going to use some paint. We're going to split this project into two parts today. So you're going to do a little painting part first with me, and then you're going to pause because you're going to have to wait for your paper to dry, okay? So maybe go on to one of your, your music lesson for today or your gym lesson for today, and then come back to it, all right? Because we are going to need a little bit of time for the paper to dry. So in the examples I showed you, Matisse would layer different shapes. Well, we are going to be creating shapes later on using these paper squares that are in your art kit. But before we use these, we want to create some larger shapes for the background. So you can do this however you want. We are going to use our watercolor paint. You should be familiar with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wake up my watercolor paint just by tapping some water and then rinsing the brush in between colors. Remember, we have to wake up those colors. I don't know which colors I'm going to use yet, but I'm just going to wake up all of the ones that I have in the meantime while I'm kind of figuring it out. Okay, so my colors are awake. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make some larger shapes in the background to start off. I'm going to use purple because I love purple. And I'm just going to, I don't know, make a purple rectangle. Sure, hey, why not? And I'm going to paint it in. Remember, do not paint over the same spot over and over again because it will make a hole in your paper. If you have markers at home, you may use markers for this instead if you feel more comfortable with markers. I'm not doing this demonstration with markers because we didn't have markers in the art kit, so I wanted to use the paint because that's something that everyone has. All right, so there is my purple rectangle. Okay, I'm going to clean off my brush. And you know what? Actually, I cleaned off my brush, but I don't like how this is looking right here. I want to fix it. That edge got too light. So I'm going to fix it. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to clean off my brush and I'm going to use a different color. You know, it might be a good idea to check out the colors you have for your paper squares in your art kit, and then maybe use different colors for the painted shapes in the background. All right, so now I'm painting a circle. If you feel more comfortable drawing these shapes in pencil first before you paint them in, go for it. That's totally fine. All right, so now we're going to pause here and perhaps put it somewhere to dry. Remember, you have to pick it up and hold it flat like a lunch tray. Put it off to the side. You can go ahead and clean up your water bucket and your paints, because we're not going to use those anymore for this project. And now I'm going to show you what to do once the paper is dry. Now that my paint is dry, I'm going to go ahead and use my colorful squares that are in your art kit to finish my Matisse inspired project. Now, before I begin, I did notice that some of the edges of my shapes are a little smudgy. So you don't have to do this, but what I've decided to do is I'm going to take a marker and I'm going to just kind of outline my shapes to give them a smoother edge. If you don't have markers, you could use crayon. You could use colored pencil. Colored pencil might take a while. I like the look of the marker, but I know not everyone might have markers. So if you don't have anything to do this, don't worry about it, and just you can just fast forward to the next step where I start using the cut paper. Okay, so now it's time to create some geometric and organic shapes using the cut paper squares. I want you to watch me first, and then you try. You're going to need your cut paper squares, scissors, and a glue stick or some sort of glue. Okay, remember with the glue stick, you turn it up just a little bit, okay, to get it ready. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my squares. And notice, first of all, how the back is white, okay? This is gonna be, the white side of your paper, squares, is gonna be what you put the glue on always. You never wanna put the glue on the colored paper part, okay? Because that's the part we want to see. And we're gonna be sticking this part to the paper. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold my square. You can fold it in half. It doesn't have to be perfectly in half. It can be a little wonky, that's okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just cut a shape out of my square. Notice how I'm cutting from the folded edge, okay? I'm not cutting from the edge that opens, okay? Because I want to still keep this part intact. So now what's happening, which is really cool, is not only do I have an organic shape cut out, but I also have from the scrap of the shape that I cut out, I have another shape that is really interesting too. So I can actually use both, okay? So you wanna kind of figure out how you wanna arrange them, and then you're gonna glue them down. This is the positive space, and this is the negative space. The negative space is like the background or the part behind it, okay? So it's kind of cool that we can use both. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my glue, and I'm gonna put my glue on the white back of my paper square. And I'm not gonna stick it, I'm gonna stick it kind of in some of the white spaces too, because I wanna make this interesting. So I'm actually, before I stick it down, I wanna kind of figure out, like, where should this go? Where would I like this to go? I'm not gonna put it over here with this organic shape. I think I'm actually gonna put it right here. And remember, we have to rub it to give it that glue grab time. And then I'm going to take this shape also, and I'm going to put glue on the white back. It's a little tricky. There we go. Okay. Make sure I got all the corners too. And then I'm going to, I'm not going to put this right next to the other blue shape. I think I'm going to put it down here. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it right here. Okay. Oh, it's kind of cool. It's cool how you can see part of that shape below. Now, this is really important, again, to really like smooth it out. And if you see any edges curling up, like this edge right here is curling up, I want to practice good craftsmanship. So I'm going to make sure I put some more glue on that. And then I'm going to really press it down with my finger, maybe hold it for at least 10 seconds so that it really sticks to the paper. I'm going to get my next color, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I want you to do this with all of your shapes. You do not need to copy a design that Matisse made. Just make your own. You're just being inspired by his type of artwork. Notice how I'm folding the paper this way this time. Okay, you can fold it any which way you want. I'm gonna cut a geometric shape out of this time. Remember, I'm always starting to cut where the fold is, okay? Okay, never cut from this part, the open part. All right, boys and girls, so there you have it, a Matisse-inspired collage. Now, if you would like to, you do not have to, you could, once this has dried, you could take some crayon or marker or colored pencil and you could add even more line detail in the white space or maybe on top of your colored square design. It is up to you. I love how mine turned out, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. I just think it's so interesting, all the different shapes, organic and geometric, and how it almost goes back into space a little bit because there's so many layers of color, line, and shape. I can't wait to see how yours turns out this week.